My eye. No, listen, a bee went in it.
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're looking at Top Gear's 20 grandest calamities.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Anyway, I'm probably being pessimistic.
Paintballs. First up, we have a ridiculous stunt from Series 14. Clarkson acquired a 2005 F1 Red Bull racing car and had the creative idea of firing paintballs out of it.
We'll sort of splatter the canvas using this car as our brush.
He brought on former racing driver David Coulthard to help. The paintballs were readied and their target was a canvas held by Clarkson. Thankfully, his head was protected by a helmet. Unfortunately, he failed to protect his lower half, which was being fired at by paintballs. Clarkson takes an absolutely brutal shot to the crown jewels, a disaster everyone except him could have foreseen.
I tell you, I'm not giving a mouth to mouth, that's for sure.
Angry horses.
No, you half-wit.
While it's primarily a car show, the trio occasionally forego vehicles for animals. This often ends in disaster, as was the case in their Burma special. Forgetting it's called Myanmar wasn't their only mistake. They also struggled with horse riding.
Oh, Christ almighty. Hello, horse. I shall call you Tesco.
At one point, Hammond's horse got riled up after riding too close to May. The horse freaked out, reared, and threw May to the ground. The throw broke Hammond's wrist, hospitalising him and cancelling their journey to the nearby village. This episode was quite controversial, but mainly because of Clarkson using a racial epithet.
This is the doctor going to attend to Richard, but the van is stuck. I've just dismounted my reversing horse and actually genuinely have hurt my testes.
Pushing Clarkson into ice water.
Sadly, our ordeal was not yet over.
One of their most popular specials was the Polar Challenge, aired in 2007. The trio set out to be the first people to reach the North Pole in a motor vehicle, except for Hammond, who got his hands on a dog sled. At one point, an instructor tries to convince them to jump into polar ice water. In theory, if they accidentally fall in, they'll be prepared for how to handle it.
What is it when you've got like a tingling down your arm and chest pain?
The three were hesitant to try, so the instructor shoved Clarkson straight in. It looked horrendous, but all three of them should have jumped in. The North Pole is an extremely dangerous place. It's best to be prepared.
I like to think of us as a unit on Top Gear, and as a unit, we've done that test.
Clarkson's back injury.
And the big news this week is Jeremy has been banned from driving for 6 months. Yes, he has.
Injuries were relatively common on Top Gear, despite their best efforts to avoid them. One of their earliest was Clarkson's back injury in 2005.
It wasn't his local magistrate that banned him, it was his doctor.
It was, and that's why it's taking him so long to get to the stage.
Here he is, ladies and gentlemen.
It had a relatively menial cause, oversteering, which caused a disc in his spine to slip. We never got to see the injury, but it was immensely painful. So much so, he was banned from driving for 6 months.
Look, that's the longest one I ever did, and then my spine shattered.
Yeah.
According to Clarkson, the best medicine was watching Pink Floyd live, something we all wish our doctors would prescribe us. He's since recovered and now keeps his steering to a normal quantity. Airship caravanning.
Very well cooked on one side.
Everyone has wondered if they could combine their caravan holiday with a blimp. Well, maybe not everyone, but we know James May has. This ridiculous idea was put to the test in the show's 14th series. Hot air balloons are notoriously hard to steer, and that doesn't change when you jam a caravan on the bottom.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
This caused May to chaotically fly over an airport, an extremely dangerous stunt.
You have traffic left, 11 o'clock, range of half a mile, fast moving.
Not just for him and his makeshift airship, but for all the planes taking off and landing. The Sky Cops got involved, and May was forced to retreat. He managed to land unscathed, but it was far from gracious. The whole thing toppled sideways and he was dragged through a field.
No! Oh, bloody hell, stop!
Amphibious car disaster.
Have you had a few problems?
No, I just had to make a bit of a detour.
The trio's amphibious car challenges were highly memorable, not just for being silly, but for being total disasters. They first tried it in Series 8, and as all but the most optimistic people would expect, none were impressive. Hammond began sinking immediately, breaking his propeller on the ramp.
Oh no, it's sinking!
Clarkson's contraption was the most impressive, sailing remarkably well. Unfortunately, its major flaw was Clarkson's driving, which was so irresponsible it capsized entirely.
That was a mistake.
You may have just overcooked it.
May had mild success, but his vehicle was too slow and took forever to sail. He still made it to the finish line, but his clutch broke, and the car couldn't exit, so really, no one won.
No!
HMS Clarkson has capsized by the sounds of things. That is fantastic.
Crossing the channel in car boats. Now for car boats 2, except this time they're trying to cross the English Channel. They used the same principles as before, with May simply updating his previous contraption.
This is the third time I've been in this ruddy sea.
Despite his previous success, this time he sank before even leaving the bay. For the others, the waves were too erratic, so they paused the shenanigans until it calmed down a bit. They still weren't successful, with Hammond sinking again, and all three of them squeezing onto Clarkson's ship.
Captain, about 110 knots.
110 now.
Yeah.
What's that in miles an hour? 140?
125.
They then get a brilliant idea to break the world record for travelling the channel on an amphibious car. Despite missing Calais, they still arrived in France, but disappointingly didn't break the record.
Ready, 1 hour, 40 minutes coming up now. We've failed!
Pushing Clarkson's motorhome off a cliff. In this challenge from Series 15, Clarkson crafted the iconic Leaning Tower of Citroën. It had an impressive 3 doors, all of them cramped. It was a remarkable feat of engineering for him, despite constantly drifting in the wind. Things became disastrous when Clarkson left the others to grab ice cream.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's the first time since we set off that motorhoming is making sense.
Hammond and May devised a devious prank to park his home right on the edge of a cliff. Unfortunately, their plan went severely downhill, both figuratively and literally. The shot of it falling off behind Clarkson is priceless, with him not even realising what's fallen.
Holidaying in England, even in a motorhome, does make sense. Is that all right? What?
Reliant Robin.
Oh no. I've crashed it. I've crashed it almost immediately.
Probably best known as the Mr. Bean car, the 3-wheeled Reliant Robin was a hilariously flawed vehicle. In Series 15, Clarkson had to drive it from Sheffield to Rotherham, a relatively short 14-mile journey. In the words of Clarkson, driving it felt like inviting your mum round for an evening on chat roulette.
I pulled over to chat to some enthusiasts.
Even the smallest bend would send it rolling. Thankfully, Phil Oakley from the Human League was there to lend a hand. It rolled 8 times in total, one of these rolls featuring in the background of BBC Look North.
There's been a real area of controversy here because over the last 2 days, my God!
Driving into Alabama. This was arguably their most overtly senseless stunt.
Honestly, we've all done a good job here, but I do believe that the person most likely to be shot is indeed Hammond.
The trio decided to paint each other's cars, seeking to give them the most controversial paint jobs in the Deep South. Clarkson's car had Country and Western is rubbish along its side. May had Hillary for president, NASCAR sucks, and I'm bi on his. Finally, Hammond simply said, man love rules.
I have felt less conspicuous than this.
It caused quite a stir, with them immediately running into trouble at a petrol station. The three men had to dash out of Alabama, with gun-slinging locals hot in pursuit.
Rocks started pelting our vans.
Many think it was fake, but in interviews, the trio seemed genuinely terrified about it. Clarkson crashes his Vespa.
You will now attempt to achieve in 8 days what the Americans failed to achieve in 10 years. Get from the south of Vietnam to the north.
Vespas are way more common in Vietnam than in the UK, motivating this challenge in their Vietnam special. The goal was to drive 1,000 miles across Vietnam on a Vespa. Sounds simple, but Clarkson can't ride a bike, and he chose a bucket for a helmet. After asking a bystander for help, he sets off on his journey.
I am now boldly going where no American has been before.
Disappointingly, he doesn't quite make it to 1,000 miles. Relatively soon into his journey, he experiences one of the worst crashes in his career. Thankfully, he only suffered minor wounds, but it served to solidify his distaste for bicycles.
I've got cracked ribs, probably my elbow's ruined, but look at my suit!
Recovery concussion.
Plainly, James was in a bad way, so he was taken to hospital, leaving Hammond and I to carry on alone.
The group filmed a Middle East special in 2010, managing to travel across Syria not long before the outbreak of a civil war. The aim was to recreate the three wise men's journey, going from Turkey to Palestine. While crossing the desert, May's car gets stuck climbing a hill. Their solution is to pull it out with another car.
Go, 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 go!
Sounds like a good plan, but things go wrong when May gets slammed to the ground. It's one of Top Gear's goriest moments, with May getting an utterly gruesome head injury.
It's only a small bang on the head, and I'm mended.
Clarkson's head dislodged from spine. Having health and safety on hand is necessary for this show's stunts.
Come on! Spin! Yes!
Though sometimes a stunt is just so stupid that there's not much point. The time Clarkson drove a lorry into a brick wall is a perfect example of this. It makes no sense how this challenge was greenlit. It went as badly as anyone would expect.
Here we go!
The impact was so severe that his head became dislodged from his spine. In his own words, all he felt after was screaming agony.
The impact was a bit nasty.
Not exactly a surprise. We're sure most people would predict such an outcome. Flintoff's crash. Now for our first entry after the firing of Clarkson. In 2022, the new host, Freddie Flintoff, experienced a nearly fatal car crash. It happened while driving a three-wheeled car at 130 miles per hour, something we've already seen the danger of. He lost control, and the vehicle flipped completely. Flintoff needed a break from television, and has since healed from the incident. The show had massively declined in popularity since Clarkson's dismissal, and many thought the BBC was looking for an excuse to end it. Well, Flintoff's crash was the nail in the coffin. After 20 years on the air, they announced it wouldn't return in the foreseeable future. Punching a producer.
Jeremy Clarkson's contract with the BBC will not be renewed. I can read you a statement that we have just received.
This is arguably the most well-known Top Gear controversy. It wasn't shown on screen, but still qualifies as a disaster. It all started over an incredibly menial disagreement. By early 2015, Clarkson had been issued his final warning by the BBC for his repeated problematic behaviour. Instead of trying to be nice, he went berserk over a steak. Producer Oisin Tymon failed to get hot food for the presenters, with the three arriving at a hotel after the chef went home. Clarkson was itching for a steak, but all he got was a cold meat platter. Things got heated, and Clarkson ended up punching Tymon.
All I would like to say is I wish people would leave Osh alone, because none of this is his fault.
This was the final straw, and the BBC terminated his contract. Crew's car falls into a river.
That is Anne River.
Yes, it is.
Series 19's Africa special challenged the crew to hunt the true source of the River Nile. This sounds simple, but it's so difficult, not even the Romans managed it.
Why don't we build a car ferry?
Although I suppose they didn't have the BBC to fund them. At one point, they had to use a makeshift ferry crafted out of barrels and wood. It didn't look at all promising, but the trio successfully transported all their vehicles across.
I am pulling a BMW 528i Touring across a crocodile-infested river.
And the impressive thing is you're not making a fuss about it.
The crew were not as fortunate. Right at the end of the challenge, the lads discuss how amazed they are that nothing went wrong.
Gentlemen,
Because there's... It's gone! It's completely gone! Completely sunk!
Well, they spoke too soon. In the background, the crew's car falls hilariously into the river. Hammond's near-fatal car crash. Back in 2006, the hamster experienced an almost fatal car crash. He was driving a jet-powered car, specifically the Vampire Dragster, which held the British land speed record.
Every part of my body is full of adrenaline.
Hammond was travelling at 288 miles per hour when he spiralled out of control. It was horrifying, and many were concerned he wouldn't pull through. Thankfully he did, and partly because he handled the crash like a professional. He braked, steered into the skid, and deployed his parachute. Series 9 was subsequently delayed, but was eventually shortened and released. The crash was included in the final product, with Hammond asking his co-stars never to mention it again, a request they quickly forgot about.
Are you now a mental?
No!
May's cracked ribs. The Patagonia special took the trio to South America, challenging them to adventure through Chile and Argentina.
No.
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 It was one of the series' most controversial episodes, with one noteworthy disaster being horse-related. This time it wasn't Hammond who suffered, but May. Once again, they were unable to drive temporarily, motivating them to use horses. They didn't get very far, though.
Oh, that's not gone well. Oh, that's not gone well. You all right, mate?
May's horse freaks out immediately and sends him on a nasty fall. He lands straight on his head, quite an unpleasant moment to watch. May cracked 3 ribs that fall, and it gave him a reason to abandon the horses once again.
I guess we're walking then.
Chernobyl petrol shortage.
Oh, wait a minute, what do we have here? Some kind of checkpoint.
In Series 21, the lads had to travel across Ukraine in hatchbacks. This journey took them to Chernobyl, the site of the most infamous nuclear meltdown in history. It's become safer with time, but it's still dangerous enough to be in an exclusion zone. On the way there, they run into suspicious police.
It is definitely now time to get out of here.
Things go wrong when they reach the zone, and their cars run out of fuel not far from the reactor. For this stunt, most of the crew ran away to Kyiv, leaving them with only assistant cameramen. For their efforts, they were credited as extra brave film cameras. The Argentina incident.
There was a problem. Someone on an Argentinian website noticed that the car I was driving sported the number plate H982FKL.
Now back to the Patagonia special, but now we'll be discussing its biggest controversy. For context, in 1982, Argentina and the UK went to war over the Falklands. In the special, Clarkson drove a car with H982FKL on its number plate.
Nationalists, whatever, believe that the Falklands are Argentinian, they don't like the British, and they're in the hotel.
This immediately sparked outrage online, with Argentinians believing it to be a reference to the war. On October 2nd, 2014, outraged protests began to be a problem. This deteriorated until the police recommended they flee Argentina.
Back on the move, they were now heading for the much larger town of Rio Grande, where they were told a mob in some 300 cars was waiting.
This is exactly what they did, with the main 3 flying promptly to Buenos Aires. Meanwhile, the remainder of the crew continued to gain heat. They opted to abandon the cars and then cut a fence to Chile, crossing the border illegally.
But after many hours of struggle, our team made it across.
What do you think was the biggest Top Gear blunder? Let us know in the comments below.
Oh yes! I'm so alive! I'm so alive!
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.